Welcome to the Today Show. This is our flagship show. I am Unstoppable Tracy, proud to be joining you on your TV. I'm from the Disability Channel, also on Roku, TDC. And today you are going to be over the moon relieved. Are you living some reinvention? I have with me today someone named Anita Cassidy. Anita Cassidy is with Burlington Economic Development. And the abbreviated name of that is Burlington ECDev. It's so funny, we've all got acronyms, but Burlington Economic Development is the lead of the Tech Place. That's their core strategy with innovation and entrepreneurship. And they've got some great websites, investburlington.ca and techplace.ca. But today I have Anita Cassidy that's going to talk to us about some solutions during COVID for your small businesses. And so thank you so much, Anita Cassidy, for joining us. And please stay tuned. Right after the break, we're going to hear some of these golden nugget solutions from Anita. Right after this break.
Jay Stoyan here for the Disability Channel, the world's only inclusive channel for and by persons with disabilities. I just want to let everybody know that we are now live on Roku TV, the world's largest IP platform, and it is a free subscription. Again, the Disability Channel is live on Roku TV, the world's largest IP platform, available in more than 27 countries around the world. And it is a free subscription. Subscribe today, the Disability Channel.
Welcome back to the Today Show. I am Unstoppable Tracy with the Disability Channel on Roku as well as your TV. And today I am welcoming Anita Cassidy from Burlington Economic Development. Welcome, Anita.
Hi, Tracy. Thanks for having me.
It is so fabulous to have you today. So will you tell the viewers and the listeners, many of them from the Halton region, but we have folks from all over Ontario, learning your tips and tricks about Burlington Economic Development?
Sure, Tracy. And Burlington Economic Development, basically everybody who lives in a city, you have an economic development department there, or an economic development entity, and it's our job to support businesses to start, grow, and locate locally, and then also to help businesses grow and start up. So there's kind of two halves to what we do in economic development. There's what you can think of as traditional businesses, so like your manufacturing sector, your restaurants, your retail, they're kind of more in the traditional business sector. And then we've got Tech Place, which supports innovative technology startup businesses. So if you think of a business like a Shopify, for example, that's an innovative new technology that changed the way that things were done. And they came up with a new platform, a new way to do things. And that's a high growth business that's grown from, people working in a bedroom or a garage up to like hundreds and hundreds of employees. And so Tech Place is designed to support companies like that and entrepreneurs to get the resources that they need to start up and then scale up that sort of technology business.
It kind of makes me think of Wozniak. He's drinking his apple soda in his garage and he names his computer after his apple soda flavor. And he was in his garage and then boom, right? We all know who Apple is. So you absolutely need back support for all the Wozniak.
That's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to get those entrepreneurs out of their garages. And the whole point of Tech Place is we find that entrepreneurs and technology startups do better when they have those other people to connect with. So Tech Place provides that space where you can bump into people, make connections, get other resources. And we've got a whole bunch of wraparound services there, like Halton, one of our partners, and they can do all sorts of things for technology startup companies, including helping them do market research, validate their business model, access funding resources. And then they've got a fantastic program there called Entrepreneurs in Residence. Yeah. And through those, you can basically, these are like people who've started 4 or 5 businesses. They know like a technology sector really well, and they can do hands-on coaching with you as you're looking at your business and say, oh, okay, I've been there, done that. Here's the pitfalls. Here's how I can make this easier for you and the advice that I give you.
Oh, wow, Anita. I know that we ourselves, TDC, have an office in your tech place, and that we have leveraged supports from some of the peers just organically by being, instead of being in a garage and filming, now that we've grown and we're in Wisconsin and Timmins and all over Ontario and all over Canada and all over North America, we were able to leverage that growth in our world in one of your offices at Tech Place, but met tons of people that have parallel businesses that could plug into us, which is so great. I mean, who doesn't want to learn more about funding? And I think every entrepreneur is needing some tech support. Have you got any success stories or a favorite story of that you're hearing about of people that have networked and connected and learned at Tech Place thanks to Burlington Economic Development?
Sure. One that I like to chat about, because it's a really good example of not just connecting with people at Tech Place, but what Tech Place can do in terms of connecting businesses into the local ecosystem and then getting them those first customers, is a company that actually, they're in kind of the green technology space, and they're called FDI. And so what they have is they have a little sensor that goes into existing HVAC systems. And so then they can tell you based on occupancy levels and automatically adjust, say you've got a library or like an event space. Like what happens usually is those spaces are running the HVAC at like 100% all the time because they don't know when the space isn't being used. So these can sense that automatically, and then they can change how the HVAC is being used, etc. And so they can give you significant both energy savings and then greenhouse emission savings. So one of the things we did with that company was we actually connected them into our local library and to some of our local facilities. And now those technologies are being implemented locally as kind of those test customers. And so that's a win-win because, you know, that company gets to test out their markets, and then we get to benefit from new technologies in our businesses locally.
Holy cow, what an extraordinary story. That's fabulous. And talk about COVID, right? Imagine running HVAC all the time, and it's a lot of times where people aren't in the building. So how much money are you losing because of COVID at the time, but how much you could save with a technology like that, thanks to Burlington Economic Development and Tech Place, you know, sharing strategies and ideas and entrepreneurial coaching. Holy cow, that's amazing. I love that. So, Anita, we are not done. I have 100 questions, but what you're sensing in my pause is that we need to take a moment for a commercial break. But I know that there's people online that have questions, and there's our listeners. So, folks, please stay tuned on your TV and on TDC Roku, and for those of you watching live on Facebook. But if people want to be Twittering this incredible example and these resources, how do people Twitter handle you, my friend? Anita, will you share your Twitter handle?
Yep. So we've got a few different Twitter handles. So we've got at Burlington ECDA, which is our Burlington Economic Development Twitter handle. We've got our Tech Place Twitter handle as well, at Tech Place CA. And then we've got, if you can feel free to tweet me as well, I'm Anita Cassidy with an S on the end because the original one was taken. So Anita Cassidy's.
Because she's so much more than one Cassidy, with all of her fabulous entrepreneurial coaching and golden nuggets through Tech Place and Burlington Economic Development, who's the leader in this strategy, leveraging Tech Place as the solution finder for entrepreneurs. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages with your TV, Unstoppable Tracy, and Anita Cassidy from Tech Place and Burlington Economic Development. We'll be right back.
Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutches of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade. Yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Welcome back to Your TV. Today we have guest Anita Cassidy, who is providing some extraordinary tools and resources through her tech place and through her Burlington Economic Development. And she's letting us know all over Ontario and all over the world that there is economic development teams out there. And so we're focusing, because we're Halton region, on the Burlington Economic Development. But can you just dive a little deeper on that Burlington Economic Development resource that's out there for everybody everywhere?
Yeah, absolutely. So just like every business, we've had to change what we're doing in terms of business support at Burlington Economic Development. So one of the best resources, there's a couple of resources I'll point people to. One is our website, investburlington.ca, and then I believe it's /COVID-19. And so you can find some key resources there in terms of things that we're doing locally for COVID support. So say when we had, nobody expected us all to be having to wear masks in public places. And as a business owner, what does that mean for you? What is your responsibility, for customers and for staff? And then, back, this time last year, we were talking about, are plastic plexiglass shields okay? Do employees have to wear masks behind those? So we put together a mask guide that goes through all of those pieces. And every time we have new regulations come out locally, we try to do that there. Another good example is we recently did some updates to reduce red tape and costs for our businesses, pre-lockdown shutdown, when we were getting ready for patio season to open up. We made it easier for those restaurants to get patio permits, because actually every business that has a patio outside on public land has to get a permit for that. So we tried to make that easier. We've got a guide there for that. And then another great resources for COVID is our Burlington Chamber of Commerce, our partners, so burlingtonchamberofcommerce.com. And then if you go on there, there's a big banner up front that talks about Team Burlington. And basically, there's information on there on every kind of grant, funding, all sorts of different resources that you can access as a business. It's a one-stop shop for all of those resources. And again, just like everybody else, we were scrambling during COVID. So we had to create these new resources that put all that piece in one place, because there's so much stuff out there for businesses and it's so confusing. And then the other piece I'd encourage people to do is we actually have a COVID-19 business support line. So businesses can call that directly and they can get support one-on-one from one of our economic development officers. They can describe your business and we can say, okay, these are the types of supports that we think you can access. And here's going to be the easiest ones for you to access. Because again, a lot of these supports, it's great that they're out there, but it's a lot of work for a small business owner to fill out all of that stuff. And then they have monitoring and all those pieces. So, we know which ones are going to be easier for you to manage versus which ones are that's a great to have, but it's going to take way much time for you.
Yeah, right? Oh, this is amazing. I mean, we're talking about, what do I need in COVID? How do I get my patio license? Where do I get more funding? Who else is an ally like the Chamber of Commerce? This is incredible, Anita. And I don't want to put you on the spot, and you may just be arranging all of that. And certainly we at the Disability Channel can help you. But it is also any supports and services for people with disabilities. How do people take care of every customer everywhere? We're all kind of firefighting. So we focus on the general masses. But we forget that after 2017, a majority of the population are over 55. So that means a majority of the population may or may not be tech savvy, may or may not have hearing loss, may or may not have mobility impairments, may or may not have visual loss, right? Not totally blind. So there's a lot of people being impacted with disabilities out there that are your customers. And so any supports in COVID about diversity and inclusion, and if not, we can support you. I don't want to put you on the spot, but is that something that exists or will exist in the near future?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a number of different pieces there. One, there's kind of the broader accessibility piece for people with disabilities who want to access a business in general. So say you're in a wheelchair and you want to go into a business and the door isn't wide enough. Yeah. Or they don't have like an automatic door push or things like that. So that's actually supported through, there's been changes to the building code over the last 10 years. So say when we set up Tech Place, for example, the existing doors and other items that we had on there actually wouldn't accommodate a wheelchair. So we had to put in other items like that to make sure that the space was fully accessible. And there are actually funding supports out there from the Ontario government to be able to do those adaptations to your business. And I think something that, people don't really think about during COVID-19 is the bigger impact that this has on people with disabilities and accessibility. And this is something that I noticed personally. For a long time, because both of my sisters have disabilities. So, I've always been aware of this growing up. And, even just the masks coming in, my sister's deaf. So like that creates a huge issue for like lip reading, which is like a primary form of communication for her. Yes, she has her hearing aid, but she needs to be able to read lips to understand what's going on. And that's now, she fills in the gaps between her hearing aids with reading lips. So that's a huge accessibility issue. And there's a number of options there, including you might have seen like masks with like the clear little shields and things like that. But obviously, and even just, talking about our patio program as well, part of that was, as a city, we need to make sure that when they put those patios out, the sidewalks are still fully accessible so that people with disabilities can make sure, and elderly people who have issues going up and down steps and ramps and things like that, to make sure it's fully accessible as we roll out these changes for the business community. But absolutely, and as we know, there's been a larger impact, not just to people with disabilities, but also other underrepresented groups like people with visible minorities, and then women have been particularly hard hit by COVID. And that's something that we and other levels of government are looking at in terms of our recovery strategies, to say, what are the extra supports and extra economic strategies that we need to put in place to make sure that these groups in particular are able to fully participate in the economy again, because they've been particularly hard hit.
Extraordinary. Yes, I have a friend also with hearing loss, and we go to, I'm her wheels, and she's my legs. I have missing both of my legs. I'm a 4-way amputee, so we're a funny twosome when we go in. She lifts and does shopping, and I drive her there because she doesn't drive, which is so funny.
But yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. My sister and one of our close friends, my sister's deaf and our friend is blind. And so I don't know if you remember that movie, See No Evil, Hear No Evil from the 80s. They were quite the pair when they were a teenager, because they'd always go around together and they'd both be in denial about their disability. So they crutch for each other.
We hide denial each other, right? It's so true. But it is, people are afraid that if they make an adaptations or they even go down that road, they're going to be dinged and shut down. But what you're saying is there is funding out there. They just don't know that it exists. So
absolutely,
you're someone that can help direct them into finding that funding. And I love, like, how do you open up your patio in COVID? But that includes, remember, the path needs to be this wide for walkers, for ladies with strollers. There's babies out there. It's not just about accessibility. People who have broken their leg and they've got a width that they need for crutches. So it's everyone everywhere. People with a broken leg, people with a stroller, people elderly with a walker, people who use a wheelchair. And come on, let's face it, we've all tripped, whether we have a disability or not. So we need those tripping hazards removed for vision loss, for hearing loss, for mobility impact, whether it's stroller or wheelchair or broken leg. Anita, I am so grateful that Burlington Economic Development and Tech Place are out there, and investburlington.ca is a resource for so much, for tips and tricks and survival on multiple levels. And so for women, for underrepresented minorities, like people with disabilities and others, you guys are flagging it, and it's a plan. And clearly, Anita Cassidy cares. I keep repeating her name so you can find her Twitter handle. She cares because she lives it too. She has lived experience with her family. I want to say thank you so much for joining us. Any last words before I do the show wrap up?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, Tracy. This has been really great chatting to you. And again, for resources for supporting your business, techplace.ca for those early stage technology businesses, investburlington.ca/COVID-19 if you're interested in those local resources, and burlingtonchamberofcommerce.com for that one-stop shop for all those resources you need for your business.
Oh, I feel like you have just like thrown me a lifeline. You know when you're drowning and they throw those ring preservers into the water? I just like visit her sites, because talk about an abundance of solutions and gold nuggets for survival for everyone everywhere. Thank you so much for joining us today, for being that lifeline. Anita Cassidy with Burlington Economic Development and Tech Place. Be sure to visit the resources. Thank you for tuning in to your TV for the Halton region. And thank you for joining Unstoppable Tracy with the Disability Channel, also on Roku. Be sure to tune in and watch us. Upcoming episodes with folks like Youth Connect, and watch out for past episodes like Skills Ontario and trade shows and looking for trade skill development. So all of you entrepreneurs, look out for Burlington Economic Development and find their website, investburlington.ca. Thanks for joining your TV on Unstoppable Tracy and Anita Cassidy and the Disability Channel. Bye for now.